3 bullets, and a bottle of champagne. That's what sat on Alessandro Russo's desk the night Sofia Martinez walked into his life, carrying a pepperoni pizza and wearing a smile that would undo him completely. The bullets were a message from the Bratva. The champagne was for a celebration that would never happen. And the girl with flour on her cheek and hope in her eyes, she was something else entirely. Something dangerous. Something he couldn't let walk away. If you want to discover how a wrong delivery address transformed an innocent college student into the one woman who could make the most feared man in New York, Neil, subscribe now. Leave a like if you believe even the darkest hearts can find redemption through love, and tell me in the comments, what would you do if you accidentally walked into danger but found your soulmate there? Your support means everything. The rain was coming down in sheets when Sofia's ancient Honda finally gave up the ghost 3 blocks from her last delivery of the night. She sat there in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching steam rise from under the hood while the check engine light blinked at her like a mocking eye. 23 years old, working 2 jobs to pay for nursing school, and now this. Just this. The pizza in the passenger seat was getting cold. She could feel the minutes ticking away, each one representing a smaller tip, a disappointed customer, maybe even a complaint that could cost her this job too. Sofia grabbed the insulated delivery bag, threw her hood up against the rain, and started walking. The address was somewhere in the warehouse district, an area she didn't usually deliver to, but Marco had called in sick, and she'd volunteered to take his routes because she needed the money. She always needed the money. Her phone's GPS led her down streets that got progressively darker, more isolated. The buildings here were old, industrial, the kind that had seen better decades. Graffiti covered the walls, and the few streetlights that worked cast everything in sickly yellow. Sofia's nursing school instincts kicked in, the part of her brain that assessed danger, that calculated risk. She should turn back. She should call the customer, apologize, refund the order. But she thought about her mother's medication, about the tuition payment due next week, about the fact that she'd already driven all the way out here before her car died. She kept walking. The address led her to a building that looked abandoned from the outside. Broken windows on the upper floors, a loading dock with a rusted gate, the kind of place where bad things happened in movies. But there was a light on inside, filtering through the grimy windows on the ground floor, and she could see shadows moving. People were definitely here. Sofia climbed the steps to what looked like it might have been an office entrance once. There was no doorbell, just a heavy steel door with peeling paint. She knocked 3 times, the sound echoing in the empty street behind her. Nothing. She knocked again, harder this time, and called out. "Pizza delivery for Russo." The door opened so fast she stumbled backward. A man stood there, 6.5 feet of solid muscle stuffed into a black suit that probably cost more than her car had. He had a scar running down his left cheek and eyes that could freeze blood. He was also holding a gun, not pointed at her exactly, but not pointed at her either. Those eyes went from her face to the pizza bag to her soaked clothing and back to her face. He didn't say anything, just stared at her like she was a problem he was trying to solve. Behind him, she could hear voices, male, speaking in rapid Italian. Hi, Sofia managed, holding up the bag like a shield. "I have a delivery for this address. Large pepperoni, extra cheese, thin crust. The order was placed about 40 minutes ago. I'm sorry I'm late. My car broke down, and I had to walk the last few blocks, but it should still be warm." The man with the scar didn't move. He just kept staring at her with those cold eyes. Then he turned his head slightly and called back into the building. "Capo, we have a situation." More Italian, sharp and fast. Then a different voice, deeper, with an accent that turned the words into something almost musical, despite the edge underneath. "What situation, Dante?" "There's a girl here, with pizza." The silence that followed was thick enough to cut. Sophia could feel her heart pounding against her ribs. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her feet seemed rooted to the concrete. Then the deep voice again, closer now, and something in its tone made her skin prickle with awareness. A girl with pizza. "Bring her in." "I'm not," Sophia started to protest, but the man with the scar, Dante apparently, had already stepped aside, gesturing for her to enter, with the hand that wasn't holding the gun. It wasn't a request. Sophia stepped inside, and the door closed behind her, with a sound like a coffin ceiling. The interior was nothing like the exterior. Someone had gutted the warehouse and rebuilt it into something that looked like a luxury apartment, had a baby with a fortress. Exposed brick walls? Yes, but also leather furniture that probably cost more than her entire year's tuition. A chandelier hung from the ceiling, crystal catching the light from a dozen places. The floor was polished concrete, and the air smelled like expensive cologne and gun oil. There were 7 men in the room, all of them dressed in suits that whispered money, all of them turning to look at her with expressions ranging from surprise to suspicion to something that might have been amusement. And then there was him. Alessandro Russo sat behind a massive desk at the far end of the space, and the moment Sophia's eyes found him, everything else in the room seemed to blur at the edges. He was probably in his mid-30s, with black hair that was just long enough to suggest he didn't care about convention. Strong, features that belonged on Roman statues, and eyes so dark they looked black in the dim light. He wore his suit like armor, and even sitting down, he radiated the kind of power that made her understand instantly why everyone else in the room deferred to him. Those black eyes locked on her, and Sophia felt the impact of his gaze like a physical thing. He didn't move, didn't speak, just looked at her with an intensity that made her forget how to breathe. Then, slowly, a smile curved his lips. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator that had just spotted something interesting. "You're not the usual delivery driver," he said, and his voice was even better up close, dark and smooth like aged whiskey. "Where's Marco?" Sophia swallowed hard, trying to find her voice. "He's sick. I'm covering his route." She held up the pizza bag again, like it was a white flag. "I have your order. Large pepperoni, extra cheese, thin crust. That'll be $18.50. One of the men near the desk, a younger guy with slicked back hair, laughed outright. "She's asking for payment. This is incredible." "Silence," Alessandro said without looking away from Sophia. The laughter cut off instantly. He stood up from the desk, and Sophia realized he was tall, probably 6'2" or 6'3", with the kind of build that suggested he knew exactly how to use his body as a weapon. He moved toward her with the fluid grace of something dangerous, and she had to fight the urge to back up. "Do you know where you are?" he asked, stopping about 6 feet away from her. His eyes traveled over her face, her soaked clothes, the flower she could feel dried on her cheek from earlier in the shift, and something in his expression shifted, softened just for a moment. "I'm at the address the order gave me," Sophia said, lifting her chin even though her heart was trying to break out of her chest. "Look, I don't want any trouble. I just want to deliver this pizza, get paid, and go home. I have class in the morning." "Class," Alessandro repeated, like he was tasting the word. "What are you studying?" "That's really not relevant to the pizza transaction," Sophia said, and immediately regretted her tone when several of the men in the room tensed. But Alessandro threw his head back and laughed, and it was a real laugh, surprised and genuine. "Dio," he breathed. "You have no idea where you are, do you? You have no idea who I am." "Should I?" Sophia asked, and she realized with a start that despite the fear thrumming through her veins, despite the obvious danger, she was also curious about this man. there was something in his eyes, beneath the power and the darkness, that called to something in her. Alessandro stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something with sandalwood and smoke. His hand came up, and she flinched slightly, but he only reached out to gently brush his thumb across her cheek where the flower was. The touch lasted less than a second, but it sent electricity racing down her spine. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Sophia," she whispered, unable to look away from those impossibly dark eyes. "Sophia Martinez." "Sophia," he repeated, and the way he said her name, with that slight Italian accent shaping the syllables, made it sound like something precious. Sophia Martinez, who delivers pizza and goes to class in the morning and has flour on her face. He was still standing too close, close enough that she could see the faint stubble on his jaw, close enough to notice that his eyes weren't completely black, but rather a brown so deep it only revealed itself in direct light. She should step back. She should hand over the pizza, demand payment, and leave. But she couldn't move. Alessandro turned his head slightly, addressing the man called Dante without breaking eye contact with Sophia. How did she get this address? Dante shifted uncomfortably. The order came through the regular number. Someone must have given her the secondary location instead of the drop point. Find out who and why. Yes, Capo. Alessandro finally looked away, and Sophia felt like she could breathe again. He walked back to his desk, movements controlled and precise, and picked up his phone. He tapped something, then set it down. "Your car broke down," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. 3 blocks from here." Alessandro nodded slowly, then looked at her again, with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Here's what's going to happen, Sophia Martinez. You're going to give Dante the pizza. He's going to pay you. Then Marco is going to explain to you very carefully why you are never, ever going to mention this address to anyone. Not to your boss, not to your friends, not to the police. Do you understand?" The way he said police made it clear what kind of establishment she'd stumbled into. Sophia wasn't naive. She'd grown up in the Bronx, had seen enough to understand that there were parts of the city where different rules applied. But understanding something intellectually and standing in the middle of it were two very different things. "I understand," she said quietly. "Good." Alessandro gestured to Dante, who approached and took the pizza bag from her hands. He pulled out a wallet and counted out bills, far more than $18.50. "For your trouble," he said gruffly, "and for your silence." Sophia took the money because refusing seemed stupider than accepting. She folded it into her pocket without counting it. "Can I go now?" Alessandro had returned to his desk, but at her question, his eyes snapped back to her. There was something in them now, something hungry and conflicted that made her stomach flutter in a way that had nothing to do with fear. "Not yet," he said. "Sit." It wasn't a request. Sophia looked around the room at all the men in expensive suits, all of them watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to concern to something that might have been pity. She looked back at Alessandro, who was still watching her with that intense, unreadable gaze. "If I sit, will I be able to leave after?" His jaw tightened. "Yes." Then she sat in one of the leather chairs near his desk, placing her wet delivery bag on the floor beside her. Alessandro leaned back in his own chair, studying her with an intensity that made her feel like he was reading her life story in the lines of her face. "Tell me about your classes," he said. "I'm sorry." "What?" "Your classes. You said you have class in the morning. What are you studying?" "Nursing," Sophia said slowly, trying to understand why this man, who was clearly some kind of criminal, cared about her education. "I'm in my 3rd year. I want to work in pediatric oncology." Something shifted in Alessandro's expression. "Children with cancer." "Yes, it's hard, but it's important. Someone has to care for them, and their families need support too. The way he was looking at her had changed again. There was something almost reverent in his gaze now, mixed with the hunger and something else she couldn't name. "You want to save children," he said softly. "I want to help them," Sophia corrected. "Sometimes saving isn't possible, but comfort, dignity, hope, those things are always possible. And sometimes, that's more important." The room had gone very quiet. Sophia could feel all the men listening to this conversation, but she couldn't look away from Alessandro. He stood up again, and this time, when he approached her, there was something different in his movement. Less predator, more something she couldn't quite identify. "I'm going to have Marco drive you home," he said. "Your car will be fixed and return to your apartment tomorrow." Sophia started to protest. "I can't afford, you're not paying for it," he interrupted. "Consider it an apology for frightening you tonight, and a thank you for your discretion going forward." He pulled a card from his pocket, heavy stock with just a phone number embossed on it. "If you ever need anything at all, you call this number." "Why would I need anything from you?" Sophia asked, but she took the card anyway. Alessandro smiled again, and this time it was different. Sad, almost. "Because you walked into my world tonight, Sophia Martinez, and that has consequences. Even good people caught in bad places sometimes need help finding their way back out." Before she could ask what he meant, he turned to one of the younger men. "Marco, take her home. Make sure she gets inside safely." "The apartment, not just the building." "Yes, Capo." Sophia stood, picking up her empty delivery bag. She should just leave. She should walk out and never think about this night again. But instead, she heard herself ask, "What's your name?" Everyone in the room froze. Apparently, that was not a question you asked. Alessandro looked at her for a long moment, and something passed between them.
Yeah, it was literally the GoPro losing connection.
"Alessandro," he said finally. "Alessandro Russo." "It was nice to meet you, Mr. Russo, despite the circumstances." "Alessandro," he corrected. "And the circumstances aren't over, Sophia. They're just beginning." She didn't understand what he meant, but the way he said it made her shiver. Marco cleared his throat gently. "Miss Martinez, we should go." Sophia nodded and let him guide her toward the door. At the last moment, she turned back to look at Alessandro one more time. He was standing by his desk, hands in his pockets, watching her with an expression that made her heart do something complicated in her chest. "Thank you," she said, "for not, hurting me." "I would never hurt you," he said, and the certainty in his voice should have sounded like a lie, but somehow, it didn't. It sounded like a vow. Marco drove her home in a black Mercedes that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. He didn't speak much, but his silence was companionable rather than threatening. When they arrived at her building in Queens, he walked her up all 4 flights to her door. "You seem like a nice girl," he said as she was unlocking her door. "Yes? Stay away from Alessandro Russo. He's not for you."
I'm pretty sure it does have a
Marco
voice
sighed.
activated mode.
"It means he's already decided you're important.
turn all that
And
off.
nothing good ever comes from being important to men like us." He was gone before she could ask what he meant. Inside her tiny studio apartment, Sophia locked the door, dropped her bag, and pulled out the money Dante had given her. $200 for an $18 pizza. She looked at the embossed card Alessandro had given her, running her thumb over the raised numbers. She should throw it away.
Everything
Should forget this night ever happened.
Voice activated
Instead,
mode.
she put it in the drawer of her nightstand, next to the photo of her late father and the rosary her grandmother had given her. That night, she dreamed of dark eyes and dangerous smiles, of hands that could hurt but chose gentleness, of a voice that shaped her name like a prayer. 3 days passed before Sophia saw
when you
Alessandro
talk
Russo
to a
again.
dog
And when she did,
about
it wasn't at all how
going
she
for a
expected. She was leaving the hospital
WALK.
after a clinical rotation, exhausted from 12
I would
hours of
not
watching
recommend
experienced
the
nurses work with pediatric patients, learning everything she could while staying out of the way. The autumn air had turned cold, and she was hurrying toward the subway entrance when she noticed the black Mercedes parked at the curb. Marco stood beside it, and when he saw her, he opened the rear door. "Mr. Russo would like to speak with you." Sophia's heart did that complicated thing again. She should say no, should keep walking toward the subway, toward her normal life. But her feet carried her toward the car instead, and she found herself sliding into the leather interior before she could overthink it. Alessandro sat in the far seat, dressed today in a charcoal suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread on powerful men. His eyes found hers immediately, and she saw something flicker in them.
Everything's being
Relief, maybe,
used
or satisfaction.
for AI.
"You've been avoiding the pizzeria," he
It's
said
not
without
just
preamble.
about the
"I switched to day shifts," Sophia replied.
the
Which was true.
autopilot.
She'd requested the change to avoid any possibility of another delivery to that warehouse. Alessandro's lips quirked.
On
Because
Tesla
of me.
data as well.
"Because I don't want to accidentally walk into something that could get me killed." He leaned forward, and the space between them suddenly felt much smaller. "I told you, Sophia. I would never hurt you. You don't know me." "No," he agreed, "but I want to." The directness of it stole her breath. Men didn't talk to her like this. Men her age fumbled through dating apps and played games. But Alessandro looked at her like he'd already decided she was his and was just waiting for her to realize it too. "That's not how this works," Sophia said, trying to sound firm. "You can't just decide you want to know someone and expect them to comply. Can't I?" He said it without arrogance, just simple certainty. "Sophia, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since you walked out of that warehouse. The way you looked at me without fear. Not real fear, anyway. The way you talked about saving children.
Yeah, hit the river.
The flower on your cheek, and the determination in your eyes. So, I'm going to ask you very directly. Have dinner with me. That's insane. Is it? You're a criminal. Allegedly." Sophia almost laughed despite herself. "There's no allegedly about it. I saw the guns. I heard the Italian. I'm not stupid." "No," Alessandro said, his eyes intense. "You're brilliant. And you deserve better than eating ramen in your studio apartment after 12-hour shifts. You deserve someone who sees exactly how extraordinary you are. How do you know what I eat? How do you know where I live?" Her voice rose slightly. "Marco told you, didn't he?" Alessandro had the grace to look slightly shrewd. "I needed to make sure you were safe. That means having you followed. For 3 days?" "Yes." The honesty was almost more shocking than the admission. Most men would have lied, would have backpedaled. But Alessandro just looked at her steadily, unapologetic. "That's not romantic," Sophia said. "That's terrifying."
In the short
Is it?
term.
Or is it the first time in your life someone has cared enough to make sure
Then
nothing
in
bad
the
happens to you?
long term, the
The
data,
words hit harder than they should have.
the
Because he
data
wasn't
they
wrong.
get from you,
Since her father
they
died 5
can
years ago,
sell,
since her mother got sick,
or
Sophia
they
had been
can
alone,
process
responsible
into
for
an
everything,
AI that
with
they
no one
can
watching
sell.
her back, no one making sure she was okay. "I should go," she said, reaching for the door handle. But Alessandro's hand covered hers, gentle but firm. "One dinner. That's all I'm asking. Let me feed you something that isn't from a vending machine. Let me have a few hours where I can pretend I'm a normal man taking a beautiful woman out." Why me? The question came out smaller than she intended. Alessandro's thumb stroked across her knuckles, such a simple touch, but it sent warmth flooding through her. Because when you looked at me, you saw a person. Not the capo, not the monster, just a man. And I haven't felt like just a man in a very long time. Sophia's resistance was crumbling, and she knew it. She should be stronger. Should walk away from this beautiful, dangerous man who looked at her like she was air, and he was drowning.
Still
One dinner, she heard herself say, in a public place.
away.
Alessandro's smile was blinding. Wherever you want.
Not
Tomorrow
long.
night. I have class until 8.
Oh, there's a
Then
donkey
8:30.
here too.
Marco will pick you up. I can meet you there. Sophia, he said gently. I'm not going to pretend I'm something I'm not.
I didn't
I have
put the
enemies.
jacket on
Letting you
before,
travel
so
alone
I'm
to meet
starting
me
to
puts
get
you at
cold.
risk. If you're with me, if people know you're under my protection, you're safer than you would be anywhere else in this city. The casual mention of enemies and protection should have sent her running. Instead, Sophia found herself nodding. 8:30 tomorrow. Now can I please go? Alessandro released her hand, but slowly, like letting go required physical effort. Tomorrow, he said. And Sophia, wear whatever makes you
that's
feel
one
beautiful.
place that
Because you already are.
it
She got out of the
does
car
not
feeling
allow
dazed,
live
like she just
streaming,
agreed to
and
jump off
they
a cliff
heavily
and was only now
enforce it
realizing
too.
there might not be a safety net.
So all the
As the
people
Mercedes
who
pulled
try to
away,
live
she saw
stream
Alessandro
in
watching her through the
Donkey,
rear window.
the
The intensity
staff
in his gaze made
come
her
up
whole
to
body
them and
flush with
stop
heat.
them. I
What am
don't know
doing?
why.
She whispered to herself. But she already knew the answer. She was falling.
They just really
She had
don't
no
like
idea
it.
if anyone would catch her. That night, Sophia tried on
Although
everything in her
I
closet
have
3 times.
found
Her
that,
wardrobe was pathetic. Student budget
different
basics.
donkeys
Nothing
have
appropriate for dinner.
different,
With a man who wore Armani like it was
prices.
skin.
So the
Finally, she
donkeys
settled on a simple
in
black dress she bought
places
for a
that
funeral 2 years ago.
full
It
of
was modest,
tourists,
hitting
like
just above her knees,
Kyoto
with a fitted
and,
waist and
say,
cap sleeves.
Fukuoka.
She paired it with her only pair of heels
They're
and the tiny
much
gold
more
cross necklace her
expensive.
grandmother had given her. In the mirror, she looked young, nervous,
So
completely out of her depth. Perfect. Marco arrived exactly at 8:30, and this time, when Sophia slid into the Mercedes,
the
Alessandro was already
prices
there.
are pretty
He
good
looked at her like she'd
in
stolen his
country
breath,
towns,
his dark eyes traveling
but
from her
the
face
prices
down to her heels
between
and back up with
the
an appreciation
places are
that was
all
somehow
different.
both respectful and heated.
So
Bellissima, he breathed.
I was looking
Sophia
just
felt heat
for
rise
like
to her cheeks.
chocolates and stuff.
It's just a dress. It's not the dress, Alessandro said.
I
Though
just
it's a very
take
good dress.
when I'm
It's you.
going out.
Sophia,
to
you look like
countryside.
every prayer I never knew how to say. No one
In
had
the
ever talked to her like
countryside.
this. Boys her age sent hate texts and asked for pictures. But Alessandro spoke to her like she was poetry.
Ah, yeah, they
like she
always
mattered.
that. And
The restaurant he'd chosen
that
was in
music.
Tribeca, the kind of place Sophia had walked
music
past
drives
100
me
times,
nuts.
but never imagined entering. Inside, exposed brick walls held modern art. Candles flickered on white tablecloth tables, and the soft murmur of Italian and French conversations created an intimate atmosphere. The maître d' greeted Alessandro by name, leading them to a private corner table that had clearly been reserved. A bottle of wine already sat breathing,
4.7
and a single
kilometers
white
to
rose
go.
lay across Sophia's plate. You didn't have to do this, Sophia said as Alessandro held her chair. I wanted to, he replied simply. I wanted to give you something beautiful. They ordered, Alessandro suggesting dishes in fluid Italian, translating each description for her with a patience that suggested he
but
found
you
joy in
can't,
sharing this world with her. The food, when it arrived, was art.
if
Delicate pasta with truffle shavings, scallops that melted on the tongue, risotto so creamy Sophia actually closed her eyes in pleasure.
yeah, the music.
Tell me about your family, Alessandro
It
said,
must drive me
watching her
nuts.
eat with an intensity that should have been
But,
uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't.
Yeah,
My
I
mother is in
can't
the Bronx,
download the
Sophia
app.
said. She has MS,
because I've
multiple
got the
sclerosis.
Australian
It's progressing
Play Store,
slowly, but she needs help with
and
daily
it
activities.
doesn't,
My father died 5 years ago.
It doesn't
Construction
support
accident.
most Japanese
So it's
apps.
just us. And you work 2 jobs while going to nursing school to take care of her. It wasn't a question. Marco's reports had been thorough. Sophia should have been angry about the invasion of privacy, but instead, she just felt tired. Someone has to. Don't you have siblings? I have a brother, Sophia said, and couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. Lucas. He's 2 years older. He decided that Mom's illness wasn't his problem. Sends a card on her birthday if I'm lucky. Alessandro's jaw tightened. Family is everything.
So not
It's
even the
supposed to be, Sophia agreed.
Starbucks app works.
But apparently, that only applies when it's convenient.
I can't get
So you
my,
carry it all
like,
alone.
free Starbucks
Someone has to,
coffee.
she repeated. Alessandro reached across the table and took her
In
hand.
Japan,
His palm was warm, calloused in surprising places for a man who wore suits every day.
no.
The touch sent electricity
Poor
up her arm.
Google.
You shouldn't have to carry
You
it alone.
you
People
can
say
switch
that,
your
Sophia
account,
said softly. But they
but
don't
you
mean
can
it.
only
Not
switch
really.
accounts.
When it comes
So,
down to it,
like, if
everyone
you're
has their own
moving
problems.
country, you
I
can
mean
switch.
it, Alessandro said.
You can only
certainty in
switch
his voice made
once
her look
every
up sharply.
18 months.
Sophia, I know you don't understand
So-
this yet. I know it seems crazy.
If I switch,
But from the moment you walked into that
then
warehouse with flour
most
on
of
your
my
face
Australian
and defiance
apps
in your
wouldn't
eyes,
work.
something shifted. I want to take care of you. I want to make sure you never have to choose between tuition and
don't know
medication,
why they
between
do it
sleep
that
and
way.
survival. You can't just say things like that,
What
Sophia
benefit
whispered.
is there
Her heart
in
was pounding so
locking
hard she
you
was sure you could
to
see it.
one
We
country?
barely know each other. Then let's know each other, Alessandro said.
And lots
Ask
of
me
people
anything.
live in more
Anything
than
at
one
all.
country,
Sophia took a breath.
or
What do
travel
you do?
between them
Exactly.
quite often.
I mean, I know it's illegal, but what specifically? Alessandro studied her for a long moment, clearly weighing how much truth to give her. I run operations in Manhattan, import-export primarily. Some gambling, some loans, protection services for businesses in certain neighborhoods. What about violence, Sophia? Pressed. Do you hurt people? Only people who hurt my people first, Alessandro said quietly. I'm not a good man, Sophia. I won't lie to you about that. But I have codes. Children are off limits. Women are off limits. I don't traffic anything living. I don't destroy lives for profit. I protect what's mine. And I do business with people who understand the rules. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement of your character. No, Alessandro agreed. But it's honest. And honesty is what you'll always get from me, even when it's ugly. Why me? Sophia asked again. Really? Why choose me? You could have anyone. Models, actresses, women who understand your world. Alessandro's thumb stroked across her knuckles, a gesture that was becoming familiar, comforting.
Actually, on
Because those
Netflix
women see the
is a
capo.
bit different.
They see power
So
and money and
Netflix
excitement.
works
But you,
for
Sophia, you looked at me and saw a man,
my app.
a person. You weren't impressed
But
by the suit or the guards.
It
You
limits
just wanted to deliver your pizza
the
and go home to study.
geographic region.
You made me
And
feel
they do
human
that
again.
for licensing
The vulnerability in his
reasons,
voice undid something in her chest.
because they only
But I'm not
license
part of your world.
certain
I don't know how to
shows
be.
for certain
You don't need to be
geographic
part of my
regions.
world, Alessandro said.
Because
You just need to be exactly who you are. Let
so,
me worry
like,
about the rest.
The rights for
They talked for hours.
X-TV
Alessandro told her
show
about growing
might
up
be
in
owned
Sicily,
by
about coming to New York at
one
17 with nothing,
company in Japan
about building his
and
organization
one
from the ground
company
up.
in
He spoke about his mother,
America.
who still lived in Palermo, who sent him religious medals and begged him to come home.
It's just
About his younger
weird.
sister, Maria, who was studying art history in Florence and had no idea what her brother really did for a living. Keep it that way, Sophia said. She doesn't need that burden. I know, Alessandro agreed, but it means I lie to the people I love. Except you. I won't lie to you. When they finally left the restaurant, it was past midnight. Alessandro had sent Marco away, insisting he would drive Sophia home himself. They walked to where a sleek black Aston Martin waited at the curb. "This is your car?" Sophia
Still
asked,
4
unable
kilometers
to hide
away.
her awe. One of them, Alessandro admitted. He opened her door, making sure she was settled before walking around to the driver's side. The interior smelled like leather and his cologne, and Sophia found herself relaxing into the seat as he navigated through Manhattan's late-night traffic. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for tonight, for seeing me as more than just," she gestured vaguely, "more than just what I am." "You're not what you do," Alessandro said, glancing at her. "You're who you are.
Yeah,
and who you are
so
is
I've got 2
extraordinary."
phones at the moment.
When they reached her
but
building in Queens,
it's
Alessandro
your
parked and came
account
around to open
they
the door.
moved.
He walked her up the 4 flights, and at her door, they stood in the fluorescent hallway light, looking at each other. "Can I see you again?" Alessandro asked. "Tomorrow, and the day after, and every day you'll let me." "This is crazy," Sophia whispered, but she was already nodding, completely insane. Alessandro cupped her face in his hands, his touch infinitely gentle. His thumb traced her cheekbone, and she saw something flicker in his eyes, hunger mixed with restraint. "I want to kiss you," he said softly, "but not here. Not in this hallway. When I kiss you, Sophia, I want time. I want privacy. I want to do it right." Her breath caught. "Okay."
And I need,
Alessandro smiled, then pressed a kiss to her
I
forehead,
need both
lingering there
phones
for a moment.
tied to my account
Sonidoro
because
Tesoro. Sweet dreams,
that's
treasure.
how
He
I
was gone
have
before
all
she could
my
respond, taking the
authentication
stairs
and
2 at a time.
two-factor
Sophia went inside,
identity stuff
closed her
all
door,
tied
and slid
together.
down it to sit on the floor. "What am I doing?" she whispered to her empty apartment. But when she touched her forehead while his lips had met, she was smiling. Over the next 2 weeks, Sophia's life transformed into something
it's
she barely
green.
recognized. Alessandro appeared constantly,
widespread.
working around her impossible schedule with the efficiency of a man who commanded armies. He sent cars to pick her up after class, showed up at the hospital with coffee during her clinical rotations, materialized
doesn't
outside
need
the
to be.
pizzeria at the end of her
They
shifts.
just,
He
they
never
don't
pressured her,
need to
never
lock
demanded more time than she could
react
give,
to a certain
but he made it clear that whatever
geographic
time she
region,
had,
they
he
just
wanted
do.
it. They had dinner at small trattorias in Little Italy, where the owners greeted Alessandro with
And it's
respectful
one
nods
of the
and knowing
things
smiles.
as
They walked through
an
Central
app
Park at midnight when
developer,
Sophia couldn't sleep.
you
Alessandro's
get the
guards
choice
maintaining discreet distance.
of what region
They sat in his
your
car outside
app
her
is
building,
available
talking
in.
until dawn broke, covering
And
everything from
some
philosophy
app
to
developers,
favorite childhood memories.
They
And
hire
through it all,
different companies
Alessandro
for
never
different
once tried to kiss her,
countries.
the way she was increasingly desperate for him to. He touched her constantly, his hand at the small of her back, fingers intertwining
It's
with
a bad
hers,
example,
a gentle
but
brush of hair from her
for
face,
example, the
but always
Starbucks
with a
app
restraint that was starting to
might
drive
be
her crazy.
written by
On the 15th day,
a Japanese
Sophia finally
company
broke.
in Japan.
They were at his penthouse, a sprawling space in
and
Tribeca,
an
with
Australian
floor-to-ceiling
company
windows
in
overlooking the
Australia.
city. Alessandro had invited her for dinner, promising to cook, and she'd watched him move through the kitchen with surprising competence, making fresh pasta from scratch while telling her stories about learning to cook from his grandmother. Now they sat on his balcony, the city spread out below them like scattered diamonds, wine glasses in hand, and Sophia couldn't take it anymore. "Why haven't you kissed me yet?" she blurted out. Alessandro, who had been mid-sip, carefully set his glass down. He turned to look at her, and something dangerous flickered in his dark eyes. "Is that what you want?" "You know it is," Sophia said, frustrated. "You have to know." Alessandro stood, pulling her up with him. His
But,
hands framed her face, tilting it up to meet his gaze. The intensity there made her knees weak.
Can
"I haven't
release
kissed
it
you," he said,
multi-region.
his voice low and
So
rough.
I
Because
have
once I
released
start,
that
Sophia,
before,
I won't want to stop.
and I've
And you
gone
deserve
through
better
the
than
whole
being rushed.
process
You
myself.
deserve to be absolutely certain this is what you want. "I'm certain," she whispered. "Alessandro, I've been certain since that first night." Something in his expression cracked, the restraint
And
he'd been
it does
maintaining
make it
shattering.
a pain
He made a
if you do it
sound low
for
in his
more
throat,
than one
and then his
region.
mouth was on hers. The kiss was nothing like Sophia expected. It wasn't gentle or tentative. Alessandro kissed her like he was drowning, and she was air. Like he'd been holding back for weeks, and now couldn't remember why. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss, and Sophia gasped against his mouth, which he took as an invitation to taste her more thoroughly. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and Alessandro backed her against the glass railing, his body pressing into hers in a way that made heat explode through her entire being. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alessandro rested his forehead against hers. Dio, he breathed. Sophia, you're going to undo me completely. She could feel him trembling, feel the restraint it was taking for him not to take this further. It thrilled her and terrified her in equal measure. Stay tonight, Alessandro said. Not for, just stay. I want to fall asleep with you in my arms. I want to wake up and know you're here. Sophia knew she should say no, should go home, maintain some distance. But instead, she nodded. Alessandro's smile was brilliant. He led her inside, up a floating staircase to the second level, where his bedroom occupied the entire floor. It was masculine and elegant, dominated by a massive bed with black silk sheets that made her think entirely inappropriate thoughts. He gave her one of his shirts to sleep in, showed her to the bathroom, and when she emerged, he was already in bed, covers pulled back in invitation. Sophia slid in beside him, and Alessandro immediately pulled her close, her back against his chest, his arm around her waist. He buried his face in her hair and breathed deeply. "Is this okay?" he murmured. "It's perfect," Sophia whispered back. And it was. Despite everything she knew about him, despite the danger he represented, lying in Alessandro Russo's arms felt like the safest place in the world. She fell asleep to the sound of his heartbeat, steady and strong against her back. In the morning, Sophia woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. Alessandro stood at the windows, already dressed in suit pants and a partially buttoned white shirt, talking on his phone in rapid Italian. When he saw she was awake, his entire face transformed, the hard edges softening into something tender. He ended his call and came to sit on the edge of the bed. "Buongiorno, beautiful." "Good morning," Sophia said, suddenly shy. Alessandro leaned down and kissed her, slow and deep, making her forget about morning breath or the fact that she probably looked like a disaster. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with want. "If you keep looking at me like that, I'm going to cancel all my meetings and spend the day convincing you to stay in this bed." "I have class," Sophia protested weakly. "I know," Alessandro said, regret heavy in his voice. "Marco's downstairs waiting to drive you. But tonight, have dinner with my family." Sophia's stomach flipped. "Your family?" "My mother is visiting from Sicily. She wants to meet you." "Alessandro, I can't meet your mother. We've only been... What are we even doing?" He cupped her face in his hands. "We're building something real. And my mother knows me well enough to hear when I talk about someone who matters. You matter, Sophia. More than I knew was possible." Before she could overthink it, she nodded. "Okay. Tonight." Alessandro's smile could have powered the city. The dinner was at a restaurant in Little Italy that cleared out its main floor for the occasion. Sophia arrived nervous, wearing the same black dress from their first date, and found Alessandro waiting outside with a woman who could only be his mother. Caterina Russo was petite, elegant, with silver-streaked dark hair and eyes exactly like her son's. She took one look at Sophia and burst into rapid Italian, pulling her into a fierce hug. "Mama, English," Alessandro said gently. She says you're even more beautiful than I described, Alessandro translated, as his mother continued talking, holding Sophia at arm's length to look at her properly. And that you have kind eyes. Thank you, Sophia managed. It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Russo. Katerina waved off the formality. You call me Mama. Any girl my Alessandro looks at like that is already family. The dinner was overwhelming in the best way. Katerina dominated the conversation, telling embarrassing stories about Alessandro's childhood, showing photos on her phone, asking Sophia endless questions about her nursing studies. Alessandro's sister Maria video called from Florence, chattering excitedly about her art history thesis, and the whole thing felt warm and normal in a way Sophia hadn't expected. When Katerina stepped away to greet an old friend, Alessandro leaned close to Sophia. She loves you. I can tell. How can you tell? Sophia asked. Because she's planning the wedding in her head, Alessandro said with a laugh. I can see it in her eyes. Wedding? Sophia's voice came out strangled. Alessandro's hand found hers under the table. Too fast? Maybe a little, Sophia admitted. But she was smiling. Alessandro, this is all happening so quickly. I know, he said seriously. And if you need me to slow down, I will. But Sophia, I'm 36 years old. I've never brought a woman to meet my mother. I've never wanted to wake up next to someone the way I want to wake up next to you. I know what I want, and what I want is you. Before Sophia could respond, Katerina returned, and the moment passed. But as the evening continued, Sophia found herself imagining it. A future with this complicated, dangerous, tender man who looked at her like she held the sun in her hands. 2 weeks later, everything changed. Sophia was leaving the hospital after a particularly brutal shift, one where they lost a 7-year-old to leukemia. She was crying, unable to hold back the grief, when a black SUV pulled up beside her. Not Alessandro's usual car. The window rolled down, and a man she didn't recognize smiled at her. Sophia Martinez. She froze.
And sing at the same time.
Mr. Russo would like to speak with you. Get in, please.
Because I'm really slow
Something felt wrong.
at reading
Margot always picked her up,
Japanese.
and he would never just send a stranger. Sophia took a step back. I'll call him myself, thanks. The man's smile didn't waver, but his eyes hardened. It wasn't a request. 2 more men got out of the SUV. Sophia turned to run, but they were faster. A hand clamped over her mouth, arms locked around her, and she was being lifted, shoved into the vehicle. She tried to scream, tried to fight, but it was useless. The last thing she saw before a hood went over her head was the hospital's emergency entrance, so close but impossibly far. When the hood came off, Sophia was in a warehouse, tied to a chair. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she took in her surroundings. Concrete floors, dim lighting, and 5 men standing around watching her. The one who'd smiled at her from the SUV stepped forward. He was maybe 50, with gray hair and eyes like chips of ice. Sophia Martinez, the nursing student, Alessandro Russo's new pet. I'm not his pet, Sophia said, trying to keep her voice steady. The man laughed. No. Then what are you? Because from where I stand, you're leverage. Do you know what Alessandro Russo did to my brother? The man asked conversationally. He killed him, shot him in the head over a territory dispute, left his body in the river for his children to identify. Sophia's blood ran cold. I don't know anything about that. I'm sure you don't, the man agreed. You seem like a nice girl. Wrong place, wrong time. But you see, I need Alessandro to understand that actions have consequences. That you can't just kill someone's family without expecting retaliation. You're going to kill me, Sophia whispered. Oh no, the man said. I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to hurt you enough that Alessandro gets the message. Then I'm going to send you back to him broken, so he can see what happens when you love something in this world. He nodded to one of his men, who stepped forward with a knife. Sophia closed her eyes, praying silently. Then the warehouse door exploded inward. Alessandro came through like an avenging angel, gun drawn, Marco and 6 other men flanking him. His eyes found Sophia immediately, and what she saw there was murderous rage mixed with absolute terror. "Let her go," Alessandro said, his voice deadly calm. Now, the man with the ice eyes smiled. "Or what, Russo? You'll kill me like you killed my brother." "Yes," Alessandro said simply. "But first I'll kill every single person in this room who touched her, starting with you." What happened next was violence Sophia had never witnessed. Alessandro moved like death itself, precise.
I think they kind of
Shots fired, men fell, and through it all, his eyes kept finding hers, making sure she was still alive,
because they
still
went
whole.
all in with.
When it was over, when every one of her captors lay dead or dying on the concrete floor, Alessandro holstered his gun and ran to her. His hands shook as he cut her bonds, as he pulled her into his arms. She could feel him trembling, could hear him murmuring in Italian, prayers or curses. She couldn't tell. "Are you hurt?" he asked, pulling back to look at her, his hands frantically checking for injuries.
Did
they touch you? No, Sophia managed. They were going to, but you came. I always come for you, Alessandro said fiercely. Always, Sophia. Do you understand? You're mine. Mine to protect. Mine to keep safe. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. This is my fault.
Maybe
Sophia was shaking now, shock setting in. Alessandro stripped off his jacket and wrapped it around her, then lifted her into his arms like she weighed nothing. "We're going," he barked at Marco. "Clean this up." The penthouse was silent when they arrived. Alessandro carried her straight to the bathroom, setting her gently on the counter. He was covered in blood, none of it his, and his hand still trembled as he wet a cloth and carefully cleaned her face. "I need to check you," he said, his voice rough. "Make sure you're not hurt." "Okay," Sophia whispered. Alessandro's touch was infinitely gentle as he examined her wrists where the ropes had been, her arms, her face. When he was satisfied she was physically unharmed, he pulled her into his arms again and just held her. They stood like that for a long time. Alessandro's face buried in her neck, his breathing ragged. I was terrified.
She doesn't,
when Marco told me you'd been taken.
She sings that well, so she doesn't really want to do it
Not once
on
in my entire life. But the thought of losing you, of them hurting you because of me, I wanted to burn the whole city down. "I'm okay," Sophia said, even though she was still shaking. "You saved me." "I put you in danger," Alessandro corrected bitterly. "This is what I was afraid of. This is why I should have stayed away from you." "But I'm not," Sophia said, pulling back to look at him. "I'm here, Alessandro. I'm choosing to be here. Even after this. Even knowing what your world is like." "Why?" The question came out broken. "Because I love you," Sophia said, and realized it was true. Had been true, maybe since that first night, when he looked at her like she mattered. "I love you, and I'm not going anywhere." Alessandro's eyes shone with tears. "Marry me." "What?" "Marry me," he repeated. "Right now. Tomorrow. As soon as possible. I need to know you're protected. That everyone in this city knows you're untouchable." "That's not a romantic proposal," Sophia said. But she was crying now, too. "I don't care," Alessandro said. "I need you safe. I need you mine in every way that matters. Say yes." "Yes," Sophia whispered. "Yes, Alessandro. I'll marry you." They were married 3 days later in a small church in Little Italy. Just them, Alessandro's family, and a handful of his most trusted men. Sophia wore a simple white dress that Caterina had somehow produced in 48 hours, altered to fit her perfectly. Alessandro wore a black suit that made him look like sin incarnate. And when Sofia walked down the aisle on Marco's arm, since she had no father to do it, Alessandro's eyes filled with tears. Caterina wept openly through the entire ceremony. Maria video called from Florence, crying and laughing simultaneously. The priest, who clearly knew exactly who Alessandro was, spoke about love conquering darkness, about redemption found in unexpected places. When Alessandro slid the ring onto Sofia's finger, a platinum band with a single perfect diamond, his hands trembled. "I promise to love you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "To protect you, to give you every good thing this world has to offer. I promise to be worthy of you, even though I know I'm not." "You are," Sofia said, touching his face. "You are worthy, Alessandro. And I promise to love you through everything, through the darkness and the light, through fear and joy. I choose you." When the priest pronounced them married, Alessandro kissed her like he was afraid she might disappear, deep and claiming and full of desperate relief. The reception was at the same restaurant where they'd had their first date, and Alessandro barely let Sofia out of his arms all night. They danced to slow Italian songs that Caterina insisted on. When Sofia rested her head on Alessandro's chest, she could hear his heart beating too fast. "Are you happy?" she asked softly. "I'm terrified," Alessandro admitted. "Terrified of losing you. Terrified that my world will destroy you. But yes,
There it is over there.
I'm happier than I knew was possible." That night, in the penthouse that was now their home, Alessandro carried Sofia over the threshold despite her laughing protests. He set her down in the bedroom, and suddenly the air between them changed, became charged with something they'd been building toward for weeks. "I've been waiting," Alessandro said, slowly walking toward her, "trying to do this right. Give you time." "But Sofia, seeing you in that wedding dress, knowing you're my wife, his voice broke. "I need you. I need you too," Sofia whispered. Alessandro's hands shook as he reached for the zipper of her dress. "Is this your first time?" he asked gently. Sofia nodded, heat flooding her cheeks. "I wanted to wait for someone who mattered. Am I? Are you okay with that? Okay with it?" Alessandro's laugh was strained. "Sofia, knowing I'm the only man who will ever touch you, that you saved this gift for me, it's..." He pressed his forehead against hers. "I will spend the rest of my life being worthy of this trust."
I'll do all that.
He undressed her slowly, reverent hands exploring every inch of skin revealed. When she stood before him in only her white lace underwear, Alessandro stepped back to look at her, and what Sofia saw in his eyes made her feel like a goddess. "Perfetta," he breathed. "You're perfect, Sofia." "Let me show you," Sofia said, reaching for his shirt buttons. Her hands trembled as she undressed him, revealing hard muscle and old scars that told stories he'd never shared. When they were both bare, Alessandro lifted her and carried her to the bed. What happened next was slow and careful and overwhelming. Alessandro touched her like she was precious, like he had all the time in the world, coaxing her body to respond in ways she'd never experienced. When he finally joined their bodies, moving inside her with infinite care, Sofia gasped at the sensation, at the way he filled spaces in her she hadn't known were empty. Alessandro held still, letting her adjust, kissing away the tears that leaked from the corners of her eyes. "Okay," he murmured against her lips. "Tell me when." "Now," Sofia breathed. "Please, Alessandro, move." He did. Slowly at first, building a rhythm that made Sofia understand why people wrote poetry about this. Alessandro whispered to her in Italian, words she didn't understand, but felt in her bones. When pleasure built to an unbearable peak and broke over her in waves, Alessandro followed, saying her name like a prayer, as he shattered inside her. Afterward, they lay tangled together. Alessandro's hand splayed possessively over her stomach, his face buried in her hair. Mine, he murmured. Always mine.
It's one of those
Always
places
yours,
where
Sophia agreed sleepily.
it's not like I'll be
They made
staying
love
there
twice more
after
that
dark.
night. Alessandro's control slipping, his touch becoming more demanding, more desperate. By the time dawn broke, Sophia was thoroughly claimed,
so
marked
tonight,
with love
tomorrow
bites
night,
and beard burn, and she'd never felt more perfectly,
and
completely
then it's
satisfied.
onwards.
In the morning, Alessandro
I'll
woke her
head
with
like
kisses and
due
coffee,
south,
and they spent
I'll
the day
hit
in
the
bed,
ocean,
learning
and
each other's
then
bodies,
I'll go
talking about
to
everything
the
and nothing.
southernmost
It was
point
perfect.
of Kyushu.
It lasted 3 weeks. Sophia was leaving her nursing lecture when 3 black SUVs surrounded her. But this time, when men got out, they had badges. Sophia Martinez Russo, FBI. You're under arrest as a material witness in an ongoing investigation into Alessandro Russo's criminal organization.
The castle itself
Sophia's world
does,
tilted.
but I'm pretty sure the castle
You have information about crimes committed by Alessandro Russo.
night.
You're coming with us. They put her in
So you
handcuffs,
can still
loaded her into
go
a
in
vehicle,
and take
and drove her to a
photos
federal
of
building in
the
Lower Manhattan.
outside of the castle.
In an interrogation
You
room,
just can't
2
go
agents sat across
inside
from
it.
her. A
So
man with graying temples
I've been
introduced himself
inside
as
the
Agent
castle
Morrison.
before.
His partner, a hard-faced woman,
So
was Agent
that's not
Chen.
a major thing.
Mrs. Russo, Agent Morrison said, we've been investigating your husband for 3 years. Racketeering, money laundering, suspected murder. The list is extensive. I don't know anything about that, Sophia said. Really? Agent Chen leaned forward. You expect us to believe you married a Mafia boss and don't know anything about his business? I'm a nursing student, Sophia said. Alessandro keeps that part of his life completely separate from me. Smart man, Agent Morrison agreed. Protective. But here's the thing, Mrs. Russo. We don't need you to testify against him. We just need you to refuse to. What does that mean? It means we have enough evidence to bring charges. But your husband's lawyers will use spousal privilege to block your testimony. If you refuse to invoke that privilege, if you voluntarily testify, we can put Alessandro Russo away for the rest of his life. And why would I do that? Sophia asked coldly. Agent Chen slid a folder across the table. These are crime scene photos from the past 5 years. Bodies Alessandro Russo is directly responsible for. Take a look at what kind of man you married. Sophia kept her eyes on the agents. I know exactly what kind of man I married.
Not sure.
Then you know he's a murderer, Agent Morrison said. I know he's complicated, Sophia replied. I know he saved my life. I know he loves me. And I know I won't betray him. Not now. Not ever. The interrogation lasted 6 hours. They showed her photos, tried to convince her that Alessandro was a monster, threatened her with obstruction of justice charges if she didn't cooperate. Sophia sat through all of it, arms crossed, saying nothing beyond requesting a lawyer. When they finally let her go, it was past midnight. Sophia stepped out of the federal building to find Alessandro waiting on the steps, flanked by Marco and 4 lawyers in expensive suits. The moment he saw her, Alessandro moved. He pulled her into his arms so tightly she could barely breathe, his whole body shaking. I'm okay, Sophia murmured against his chest. They didn't hurt me. They tried to turn you against me, Alessandro said, his voice raw.
Not a
I
copyright
know.
strike.
They showed me the photos, the crimes, all of it. Alessandro pulled back to look at her, and Sophia saw real fear in his eyes. She could see him bracing for rejection, for her to say she'd made a mistake. Instead, she cupped his face in her hands. I told them I know exactly what kind of man I married. And I told them I would never betray you. Not now. Not ever. Alessandro made a sound that might have been a sob. He kissed her desperately, right there on the steps of the federal building. And Sophia kissed him back. not caring
before I
who saw.
finish this trip.
When they finally broke apart, Alessandro rested his forehead against hers. They're going to arrest me. I know. The indictment will come down next week. 15 counts including racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder. I could go away for life. I know that too. Then why? Alessandro's voice broke. Why didn't you save yourself, Sophia? Why tie yourself to me when you could have walked away? Because I love you, Sophia said simply. Because you're my husband. Because when you look at me, I feel seen in a way I've never felt before. And because I believe in redemption, I believe people can change. I believe you're more than the worst things you've done. I don't deserve you, Alessandro whispered. Probably not, Sophia agreed with a watery smile. But you have me anyway. That night, they lay in bed, and Alessandro told her everything.
1 kilometer
Every crime,
to go.
every decision, every body.
Final
He held nothing
countdown.
back, giving her the full truth of who he was and what he'd done. Sophia listened to all of it, and when he finished, she kissed him. I'm not saying what you did was right, she said. I'm not excusing it, but I understand how you became this person, and I believe you can become someone different. What if I can't? Alessandro asked. What if this is all I am? Then I'll love you anyway, Sophia said.
Made, actually,
But I don't think that's
I
true.
did make one.
I think meeting
I
me
think
changed
it's
you.
in
Didn't it?
Augustus in
It
Japan,
did,
but
Alessandro admitted. You make me want to be better.
I haven't hooked
To build something
anything up
legitimate,
yet.
something our children could be proud of.
So
Children.
that's what's
Sophia's breath caught. Someday, Alessandro said, his hand spreading over her stomach. When I'm not facing life in
Actually,
prison.
is that the
When I can give them a father who doesn't have blood on his hands. We'll have that, Sophia promised. Somehow, we'll have that.
This type
The indictment
of
came down 3 days later. Alessandro was arrested at the penthouse,
it's like a
agents
lemon
swarming the place at dawn.
that's
Sophia
and
watched them put her
salt.
husband in
That's
handcuffs,
really
watched
nice.
him walk out with his head high,
I had
and
it
felt her
at
heart
the
break.
night market.
The trial took 8 months.
The first time
Sophia attended every
I
single
can't
day,
touch you.
sitting in the front row behind the defense table where Alessandro could see her. She held his
I think,
mother's hand when the
it's
prosecution
a
showed those
crunchy
photos.
specialty.
She smiled at him when things looked darkest.
So
She
I'll
never
try and
wavered.
get that.
Alessandro's lawyers were good, the best money could
Okay,
buy.
850
They poked holes in the
meters.
prosecution's case, questioned evidence chains, cast doubt on witness testimony. But it wasn't enough. The jury came back with guilty verdicts on 12 of the 15 counts. The judge sentenced Alessandro to 25 years in federal prison. Sophia was in the courtroom when the sentence came down.
Yeah,
She watched
I
Alessandro's
definitely
face,
can get that
saw him
at
close
the
his
night
eyes
market.
briefly,
That's
then
where
opened
I
them
go
to look
for.
directly at her. She mouthed the
It's
words.
a bit
I love you.
expensive there.
He mouthed them back. They allowed her 10 minutes with him before they took him away. In a small
Like,
room with armed
those-
guards
the
watching,
night markets
Sophia
are
threw her
kinda
arms around
set
her
up
husband.
Like
25
cheap
years,
place.
Alessandro said numbly.
But it's so
Sophia,
popular. It's
You'll
not
be almost
cheap
50 when I
anymore.
get out. I can do the time. But asking you to wait, he shook his head. I can't ask that of you. You're not asking, Sophia said fiercely. I'm choosing. I will
And
wait for you,
it's
Alessandro.
really-
I will visit every week they allow. I will finish nursing school, work at the hospital, build a life. And when you get out, we'll have our second chance. There won't be anything left of me worth having, Alessandro said bitterly. All the good parts will die in there.
Night market
Then I'll help you
has
find them again, Sophia
correct
said.
time.
That's what love is, isn't it? Choosing each other even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard.
Like they
Alessandro
get it
kissed her
directly
one
from
last
the
time
fish
before they took him
market.
away. Dean tasted like tears and desperation and promises that seemed impossible to keep. Sophia stood in the empty room after he was gone and made herself a vow. She would not break. She would not abandon him. She would wait. And she would help him find redemption, even if it took 25 years. 6 months passed. Sophia finished her nursing degree and took a job in pediatric oncology at the Children's Hospital. Every Saturday, she made the 4-hour drive to the federal prison where Alessandro was housed. They sat across from each other in the visiting room, hands pressed against the glass partition, and talked about everything. Alessandro told her about life inside, the violence he still had to navigate, the way reputation followed him even behind bars. Sophia told him about her patients, about the children she was helping, about building the life they'd dreamed of. Some days were harder than others. There were weeks when Alessandro was so deep in darkness that he barely spoke, when Sophia could see him slipping away from her. But she never stopped coming, never stopped believing in him. Then, in the 18th month of his sentence, something changed. Alessandro called her during their weekly phone call with something new in his voice. "I've been taking classes," he said. "Business management, accounting, legal stuff. There's a program here for inmates who want to learn legitimate trades. I thought, if I'm going to have a life with you someday, I should learn how to build something that doesn't hurt people." Sophia started crying right there on the phone. "That's amazing, Alessandro. I'm proud of you. I want to be worthy of you," he said. "Even from in here." "You already are," Sophia whispered. "But I love that you're doing this." Years passed. Alessandro earned his GED, then an associate degree in business. He started leading conflict resolution groups for other inmates. He became a model prisoner. Sophia kept visiting, kept working, kept building their future. She paid off her mother's medical bills with money from Alessandro's legitimate investments that his lawyers had protected. She bought a small house in Queens with a yard and a spare bedroom. For someday, she told Alessandro during the visit, "For when you come home, for our children." In the 7th year of his sentence, Alessandro got word that his case was being reviewed for early release. New evidence had emerged, showing prosecutorial misconduct in his original trial. His lawyers filed motion after motion. Sophia barely allowed herself to hope, but then the impossible happened. The judge overturned 8 of the 12 convictions and reduced Alessandro's sentence to time served plus 5 years probation. He would be released in 3 months. Sophia got the call while she was at work, reviewing charts for her pediatric patients. She excused herself, went into a supply closet, and sobbed with relief. That night, she called the prison during phone hours. Alessandro's voice was thick with emotion when he answered. "Did you hear?" he asked. "I heard," Sophia whispered. "You're coming home." "I'm coming home," he repeated, like he couldn't believe it. "To you. To us." 3 months later, Sophia stood outside the prison gates at dawn, wearing a blue dress because Alessandro had once said he loved her in blue. When he walked out, thinner than she remembered but with eyes that were clear and focused, she ran to him. Alessandro caught her, lifting her off her feet, burying his face in her hair. He was crying. She was crying. And neither of them cared. "Home," he murmured. "Take me home, Sophia." The house in Queens was perfect. Alessandro walked through it like a man in a dream, touching the furniture, the books, the photos Sophia had framed of them from before. In the bedroom, he saw that she'd kept his side of the bed empty all these years, his pillow still there. "You waited," he said, wonder in his voice. "I told you I would," Sophia replied. Alessandro pulled her close. "I spent 7 years thinking about this moment, about coming home to you, about getting to touch you again, hold you, love you the way you deserve. So let me," Sophia said. Her hands went to the buttons of his shirt. "Let me love you. We have time now. All the time in the world." They made love slowly, relearning each other after so long apart. Alessandro touched her like she might break, like she was the most precious thing in the world. When they finally joined, moving together in the afternoon light, Sophia felt complete for the first time in 7 years. Afterward, Alessandro held her, his hand splayed possessively over her stomach, like it used to be.
Because I'm like
I want
heading
to give you
south
everything I
along
promised, he
the
said.
ocean, I'll
A real
probably
life. Children.
go past a
A
lot
future
of
where you're proud to be my
actual fish
wife.
markets.
I've always
Because
been
I
proud,
go
Sophia said.
past,
But I love that you want those things too.
I
The
go
next
past
months were an
lots
adjustment.
of fishing towns.
Alessandro struggled with the outside world, with noise and crowds and freedom. He had nightmares. He sometimes woke up swinging, thinking he was still inside.
Hey,
But Sophia was
210.
patient, helping him navigate his new reality. Alessandro kept his promise about building something legitimate. He used his business degree and the contacts he still had to start a construction company, focusing on low-income housing. He hired former inmates, gave them second chances like he'd been given. Slowly, the darkness in his eyes began to lift. A year after his release, they renewed their wedding vows in the same church where they'd married.
It doesn't
This
help
time, Sophia walked down the aisle to him freely, no shadow of prison hanging over them. Alessandro cried through the entire ceremony, and when the priest pronounced them still married, he kissed her and whispered, "Thank you for saving me."
Some issue
"You
in
saved
that
yourself," Sophia corrected.
once
"I just
the
loved you while you
Bella
did
box
it."
loses the
That
connection.
night, Sophia told Alessandro she'd stop taking her birth control.
like,
His eyes went wide. "Are you sure?" he asked.
say,
"We talked
say
about
the
waiting until..."
GoPro
"I'm sure,"
loses
Sophia
the
interrupted.
connection.
"I want to build our
I have to
family
restart
now.
the Bella box.
I want everything we dreamed about." Alessandro made love to her with focused intensity, and 3 months later, Sophia took a pregnancy test that came back positive. She told Alessandro over dinner, just sliding the positive test across the table. He stared at it for a long moment, then looked up at her with tears streaming down his face. "We're having a baby," he whispered.
Yes, this is
"We're
like
having a
right
baby,"
here.
Sophia confirmed. And then she was in his arms, both of them crying and laughing. Their daughter was born on a rainy afternoon in October, 9 years after Sophia had first
It's
walked into that
saying
warehouse
my
carrying pizza.
destination
They
is
named her
Lawson.
Isabella Rose. And when Alessandro held her for the first time, Sophia saw him completely break
That's
and reform
alright.
into something new.
Where
"She's
is
perfect," he breathed, staring at their daughter in wonder. "She's ours," Sophia said. "Everything we fought for, everything we waited for." Alessandro looked up at her, his eyes shining. "I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you or her, or this life." "Maybe not," Sophia said gently. "But you chose to become worthy of it. You did the work. You changed.
I'm not saying I
And now we
wouldn't
get to have
sleep at a
everything."
Lawson,
2
but
years later, they had a son.
they
Matteo
might
Alexander,
not have
born
any
on a
ice
sunny morning
cream
in June.
left
Their family was
the
complete.
next day.
Alessandro's construction company thrived. He became known in the community for his second-chance hiring practices, for the quality of his work,
Yeah.
for being a man who'd turned his life around.
Yes.
Sophia continued working in pediatric oncology, saving the children she could, comforting those she couldn't. Together, they built a life that was normal and extraordinary all at once. On their 15th wedding anniversary, they returned to the small cafe in Soho where they'd first met. It was under new management, but some things were the same. The same worn wooden tables, the same smell of coffee and rain. They sat in the corner where Alessandro had first seen her, and he took her hand across the table. "Do you remember that night?" he asked. "When you walked in soaked to the bone with flour on your face?" "Every detail," Sophia said. "You looked at me like I was a problem you needed to solve." "You were," Alessandro said with a smile. "You were the problem that saved my life."
Thanks, everyone.
He pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a new ring, a band to match her wedding ring, studded with diamonds. 15 years, he said. 15 years since you walked into my darkness and refused to let me stay there. 15 years of you choosing me, believing in me, loving me when I didn't deserve it. Sophia, You're the reason I'm alive. The reason I'm good. The reason I get to have this beautiful life. Sophia was crying as he slid the ring onto her finger. We saved each other, she said. You showed me that love is worth fighting for. That redemption is real. That second chances matter. They kissed across the table, and when they pulled apart, Alessandro rested his forehead against hers.
Hopefully tomorrow.
Thank you, he whispered, for seeing me when I was just a man carrying too much darkness, for believing I could be better, for waiting. Always, Sophia said.
Sorry.
I would choose you in every lifetime, Alessandro
Just
Russo.
1 second.
Sometimes the greatest love stories start with the biggest mistakes. A wrong address, a dangerous man, a girl who should have run but chose to stay instead. Sophia and Deborah proved that love isn't about finding someone perfect, but about choosing to see someone completely, about believing in their capacity to change, about standing beside them while they do the hard work of becoming worthy. In the end, Alessandro didn't need an empire. He just needed her. And Sophia didn't need to save the whole world. She just needed to love one broken man back to wholeness. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in second chances and redemptive love, subscribe to the channel now. Leave a like if you think everyone deserves someone who sees them beyond their worst mistakes. And become a member to get early access to stories that prove love really can transform lives. Your support means everything and helps us continue bringing you narratives about the power of choosing love, even when it's hard. Because sometimes the most extraordinary thing we can do is believe in someone's ability to change and love them fiercely while they do.
Thanks